Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Today's going to be a really quick video, hopefully. And as most of y'all know, here in North Carolina, or if you don't know, we have the 4 seasons here, and they can all be in one day. You wake up in the morning putting long johns on. By lunchtime comes around, you're sweating and trying to find a pair of shorts. By dinner time, you're back to putting long johns on, and you hit all 4 seasons in one day. It's really simple, happens a couple days a week. Don't like the weather, stay a couple hours. It's just a joke we use. But I keep a heater in my shop. This is one I got from Tractor Supply. It's the 5 brick Mr. heater. I got it from Tractor Supply probably a little over a year ago because it does get cold in here. And before that, I just sat in here and froze, and I decided that I really needed a heater, so I went and got this. I went to the largest one, the 5 brick. I think it's 30,000 BTUs, I think is what it is. And so it's worked great. This is a 16 by 24 shop, uninsulated, just plywood walls and a vinyl outside. And it could be around 32, 35 degrees outside like it is today. And I can have this thing smoking you out in about 2 hours. It does take a little while. I put a fan in front of it to help circulate the air through it, and that helps a lot. And in about 2 hours, I can have it probably 80 plus degrees in here. So it works great, but there is a danger to using propane. So the past few times I've been in the shop, I noticed a little bit of the smell, and I probably figured there was, I did figure there was a little bit of a leak going on somewhere in the line that I did, because the manual wanted you to put a hand valve in there for emergency shutoffs. So I had several connections right here, probably 5 connections right here, coming from the heater, going to the rubber line, going out to the regulator on the tank. So I figured I had a little bit of a leak. Mind you, when I put all this together, yes, I used tape. Yes, I sprayed it all down. There was no leak when I originally installed this thing. I know how to do it. I did it all. I checked it, and it was fine to go. But like I said, the past few times I was in here, right toward the end of the day, it would take a couple hours before I even really smelled it. And so I just kept working. At the end of the day, when I finally smelled it, it was time to go inside anyway, so I immediately cut it off, opened the door, aired everything out real good, left the door open while I was still putting stuff away and going inside. Come back out here next time, cut it back on, and I stood there and smelled while I cranked it up the next day coming in, and no smell. Again, a couple days, or that day, toward the afternoon, I started smelling it again. Didn't really think anything about it. I'll get to it. It's just cold, and I really need to knock this project out. The last time I came in here, I cut the heater on. I didn't smell anything at first. I walked inside, got ready, did some stuff, maybe 20 minutes, came back out here, and I opened the door, and it hit me. Just straight stunk. It was, I could smell it, so I immediately ran out back, cut the propane tank off. I got the spray bottle. I finally did the smart thing, sprayed the line down. In the connections that I had, there was one section where I think the tape had started coming apart or something, and I could get some tiny, tiny, tiny bubbles. You barely even noticed it. You had to sit there and rub the soap right there just for it to form a little bitty bubble. It's minute. You would never even notice it. So I took it all apart, thinking there was nothing wrong with the heater, and I got to putting it back together, and I sprayed. There was no leak, but I could just smell it pouring out, pouring out. I said something's not right, so I cut it back off. Well, I knew that all my connections were good, so I checked at the bottom. And in the bottom down here, you have a regulator on your tank, and then you also have a regulator on your heater. And this was in the bottom, this elbow right here, if I remember correctly. Let's see, let's bring it up closer. So this is your regulator that's inside. As you can tell, it's burnt up. This thing lit off. It could have been an explosion at one point. Not trying to clickbait you guys, but this really could have been an explosion at some point. I think this elbow came with the heater because I use tape, and this has the sticky thread sealer, the liquid thread sealer on it. So I believe this came with the heater, and I installed it, and I also sprayed this at the time. I sprayed everything, and nothing was wrong with it. when I finally figured out that I was still smelling it and I went through my entire connection system behind the heater, I sprayed this thing and giant bubbles came out right here. Now this is turned because I was trying to get it out. This should be facing out the back, facing back toward me. But I mean, I've got some huge bubbles that, I mean, it was just pouring gas. It's the only way to explain it. And what it was pouring enough gas that it was actually reaching up to the bricks and lighting off down here, and it actually melted this little plastic knob. I'm not even sure what that is. I think it might be a blow-off valve is what I'm thinking. I'm not sure. But it actually lit this off. That's why you see all this black soot up here. There's some, I mean, on the bottom of the heater, this was solid black. I actually cleaned this up with a rag and some soap, and the inside was a little bit charred too. But yeah, this really could have been bad. So I went to pull this out. I pulled the heater apart. It's 4 screws, 1 on each side. Pulls the face lid off. I'll get you a look at that in just a second. I'll put that in for you. The face piece comes right off, 4 screws. Nothing to it. There's nothing attached to it. It pops right off. Well, got in here and I disconnected the line here, if you can see that, and there was a double male adapter for the different thread styles. And then there was a backer plate on this, which I put on the new regulator. This is the double male thread adapter that I was talking about. This is the backing plate. So this had 4 screws in it. This was a pain in the butt to get off. The screws did not want to thread out. I had one that would not come out. I did everything I could to get it out. I even tried to drill it out. It would not drill because of this cheap metal, and I ended up taking the cut wheel and cutting the head off, and the whole backing plate came off, so I put on a new regulator. So, trying to hunt down a new regulator for this thing. Wow. Trying to hunt down a new regulator. I could not find the parts menu on Mr. Heater's website. You had to call a parts number. There is no way you can just go select the part. You had to call the parts phone number. When it rings, it says this is so-and-so company, father company or whatever, parent company of yada yada company, yada yada company, yada yada company, yada yada company. So there's like 5 companies trying to call one number, and of course you know what that means. A bunch of people with a bunch of issues are calling at one time. I waited on the phone for probably 35 minutes. During that time, I got to Googling. You know, Google solves everything. Always check Google first. And I found a manual, which I had the manual. I just hadn't gone digging for it. And I found the manual for it, and I found a part number. So I Googled the part number, and lo and behold, a website pops up. Gotta look. I always say there's a website and I can't think of the name of it. Like I said, I'll put anything that I can't remember in the video for you. I'll put the name of the website because it was super easy to order a new one for this thing. You cannot find this because the part number is actually discontinued. It has a parts number. It's actually a Chant, C-H-A-N-T, regulator, part number 219529. You type that in and everything it says that it exists no longer. So under the menu or the manual, it gives you a different number. I'll list that up there so you can know which one it is, because it lists ones for the 5 brick and then one for the 3 brick. So I typed in that number, it brought up this awesome website, had the regulator up there, $10 for a new regulator, which is this one here. By the time I did shipping, I was just under $16. So I got a new regulator. It shouldn't be that much of a pain to put it in. I'm going to try to put it in really quick because I am cold. I just wanted to make you guys aware of stuff like this can happen and you not know it. So just safety in the shop. Be aware of what's going on with your surroundings. This could have been bad. Luckily, I smelled it and got to it in time, so it wasn't a big issue. I should have done a little bit better, you know, checked it out the first time I smelled it. But hey, we're all busy, we're all human, we all make mistakes, and I own up to it. But the regulator was the issue, and getting a new regulator was a bit of a pain. Now the pain I'm dealing with is trying to find the new pieces that go on it. So going back for a second, the elbow, I mentioned earlier that the elbow was turned because I tried to get it off. This thing is seized up in there. I don't know why or how. I don't think it's the thread sealer. And I say that because I can move it a quarter to a half a turn in one direction, and then I can turn it back to the original starting position. That's all I get out of it. I have literally put this thing in a vise, put a wrench on it, beat it with a hammer. It will not come undone. I've done everything but liquefy it with the torch, and it will not come out. Like I said, it was pointing out the back, and now I've got it facing quarter of the way forward, and that's as far as I can get it. So I got off Lowe's this morning and got a new elbow piece. It's in my bag over here. I got to pull it out, and that'll go on the bottom. I could not find the double male thread adapter, but it's one thread to another, and I could not find the 1/4 inch version. They had several 3/8 versions, several 1/2 inch versions that converted to different threads, but I could not find a 1/4 version that was a converter from one thread to another. They had the double males, just not the different threads. So I took this one and I filed the grooves, or I filed the sealer out, because this had the liquid sealer on it from the factory, as this was inside the heater. I took the filed them down, and I can thread it a good ways into the new regulator, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to reuse this, get it to seal, and hopefully it seals all the way. The elbow, I can get about 3 turns in, and it gets tight, and I'm hoping that that's just the pipe thread doing what it's supposed to do. Pipe thread, as you tighten down, the threads are actually supposed to grab onto each other. Looking at this one though, this one looks like it goes down a lot further, so I'm not quite sure. We're going to install it best we can. We're going to spray it down and check it like we're supposed to. If it doesn't leak, we're going to let it roll. If it leaks, then I probably screwed the threads up on this regulator. I'm going to have to order another one, but I really want this heat, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. Follow along with the rest of the video, and we'll try to get this thing installed. Alright, so like I said, I've got right many connections here. I've actually got 1, 2, 3, 4 connections. And the reason for this style setup is because the manual says to put an emergency shutoff valve. Well, the valve, in order to get it to here, I've got to run a 3-inch double male to get from the elbow out here to make enough room where I can turn this valve on and off. Then I have to have another double male to get to the rubber hose. Alright, let's spray it down and see what we can find. So just squirt it up there nice and easy. Just kind of drip it up there, see if anything forms. Sometimes I'll take and rub my hand around. You know, maybe you just didn't find that spot that you were looking for. So you just kind of rub it around, see what you can find. And I'm not seeing anything. But the point of running your finger around it is maybe you didn't get soap into the right spot, so you're kind of dragging the soap into the hole. Also, there may be some bubbles there that you didn't notice. You wipe the bubbles away and some new bubbles pop up, and you definitely can tell you got a leak. But all down here, I'm seeing good. Now, the problem we had on the last one was on the bottom side, so we'll take and flip this up. I really hate flipping it forward because everything that's attached to it is on the front. It don't have a face plate for it to sit on, so I'm hoping that nothing really bends. But this is the connection right here. If you can see it, let's move the camera a little bit. So right here, from the regulator to the elbow is where we had a problem on the last one. Like I said, that elbow came with it, and it came with the liquid thread. But think we are good to go. I'm not seeing anything. When it's sitting flat, you may see some residual suds build up on the bottom side of the threads. That's just because all the soap is leaking down to the bottom so that it can drip off. And so you get a little buildup there that looks like it's bubbles, but that goes back to the taking your finger and wiping it down and seeing if it reappears. And I'm not seeing anything. So we're going to purge this out and get it to cut on. Check it again, spray everything down, see if we smell anything. Hopefully I got some heat because we've got some welding to do and it's cold out here. Alright, so one more thing I want to check before we get this thing cranked up is where this double adapter, the double male thread adapter is that goes from the flare nut down to the regulator. So I'm going to spray that down because that come from the factory and I didn't have to worry about it last time. But since we took it apart and put it back together, we are definitely going to spray it down and see what we get before we cut this on. Spray. And I'm not seeing any bubbles. Definitely want to check the top of the flare nut. Alright, so we'll put this thing on pilot. Push it in. If this thing works like it's supposed to, it takes a long time for it to purge. And one thing I did notice when it was leaking is that it tended to start in the first couple of seconds of purging, which was highly unusual for this thing because normally I've timed it before and it's normally a minute plus to get it to purge like I want it to. But I'm going to sit here and hold it. Uh-oh, there's one. Uh-oh. I'm getting excited. I've been without a heater for about 2 weeks now. Just because of my work schedule, I hadn't been able to get the parts. It wants to light. There it goes. There it goes. Come on. Almost there. Let's let it purge a little bit more. Like I said, this is a 15-foot hose off the back of this going to the propane tank, and I set it up that way so that I can move the heater off the wall if I wanted to and put it in the center of the shop to kind of center the heat and kind of evenly distribute the heat. Most of the time it stays up there against the wall just so it stays out of the way and I can get some work done. But if you want to hang out with the guys or something, you can bring it here into the center. Wow, that was 3 minutes, over 3 minutes to get that one to light. Like I said, it takes a while on that long heater hose, on that long gas line there. Everything's flowing. Spraying to double check, because now we're definitely sure we've got gas flowing all the way through the system. Double checking that troublesome elbow. Alright, I'm not seeing anything leaking. We can go full force. All the way up, all 5 bricks. This is getting ready to get hot. Oh man, that feels good. Oh. Alright, so I got to get this thing cut off before it gets too hot because I'm going to put the faceplate back on so I can use this today for heating the shop because I got to get some welding done and I don't want to leave it wide open with exposure to the bricks here. So we're going to put the faceplate on real quick. It's 4 quick screws. If you want to watch it, you're welcome to it. Alright guys, so we got this thing lit, and with it lit, we checked and there was no leaks to be found. So this thing is sealed up to my comfort. I'm completely satisfied with where it's at. I've got to add a couple more screws down here at the regulator. I can only get one in at the current time. So I've got to add them back on and I'm going to put the faceplate back on. You're welcome to watch that part of the video. That'll be afterwards toward the end of the video. Like I said, you're welcome to watch it. I hope you guys enjoy stuff like this, the repair stuff. It doesn't make much sense to send this stuff off to pay somebody to fix it. If I know that I feel confident in fixing it. It's a little intimidating at first when you look at something this big. You go, oh gosh, I don't know what's going to pop out of it when I take it apart. You take it apart and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically 5 components in this. It's really easy to understand. So I feel confident in fixing it. Not only that, but it's a learning experience. This is actually the first time I've taken one of these heaters apart. And trust me, it is intimidating at first. I did some Googling, looked at the parts manual, saw what was in here, If there's something I didn't understand, I looked it up, but I basically knew most of the components already in this. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like to repair stuff like this, if you like the welding, which I'm trying to get back to, you just watched the enclosed trailer build part 5 where I did some welding. Consider subscribing. It helps me out, helps you out, it lets you know when I post new videos. Remember to hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and I'll be sure to catch you on the next one. Y'all have a good one, and we'll see you next time.